Hi, this is Kathy Vick, Deeply Awake. I have one more video. It's a 3 for Friday. And then I'm going to try and stay awake and post these mamas, but they're slow going. This one is on ascension symptoms as they relate to, as it relates to the neurologic system. Primarily having to do with memory, but also having to do with fugue states that I have been aware of, and I have had friends who have also had these. Now, I will also discuss fatigue. So let's go to fatigue. Let's do fatigue first. Ascension symptoms and fatigue, they kind of go together. Your body is changing very significantly, and it gets tired. And it is cellularly tired. There's a wonderful poster on Facebook. I just love it. It's this beautiful, like, I don't know, human being that's all like that. And there's a spiral of DNA and all this stuff. And the caption reads, I know I'm... I look like I'm resting, but on a cellular level, I'm very, very busy. It's kind of like that. So fatigue will... boy, there are some days where I'm to the point now where if it's one of those days, it's not often anymore. Well, it's not often at all now, but before it wasn't that often toward the end, but at the beginning, I literally would have a year of fatigue. And I think it can really actually be misdiagnosed as chronic fatigue syndrome, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's another subject. If you have terrible, terrible fatigue and you can't keep your eyes open and you just feel like you're going to die, if you do anything except, like, I don't know, pad to the kitchen and get coffee, how about calling in? There, I said it. What's your excuse? I have a cough. Well, you know what? You know what you get then? You're going to have a note from your doctor and be on antibiotics for 24 hours before you can return. Do you want to submit to that? Well, just asking. Use some care about how you want to present your need to indulge in self-care. How about just use your noggin and create some space for yourself. Come on now. I had to justify, right after my NDE, I decided to call in, and it's like, what excuse do you use? Well, I died and I came back and I think I need a day off. I don't know. And did my heart completely stop? I don't know. No one was in the room with me. No one was in my car. So it's a bold statement to say that. I still think that is my death date. Anyway, moving on to fatigue. So fatigue is, I think, to be honest, these symptoms of fatigue are ways in which to get you to the place where you are perhaps considering quitting that abusive job of yours. And that is all. It's a way to get your body and your mind and your heart in alignment. So, first, fatigue. Then, fugue state. I have had it happen about 3 times. Always when driving. Oh, this is going to thrill people. And I know I'm perfectly safe, so, and everyone else on the road is too. That's the agreement, or it wouldn't happen there. It's happened more than 3 times, but there have been 3 times when it's been incredibly intense. I'm driving, doing something really simple, but very automatic, hypnotic, usually on the highway. Once on the highway, and once, whatever, doesn't matter. Driving along, and I wrote about it, and I said, is anyone else having this? Because it scared me that first time. Driving along the road, and all of a sudden, where am I? What am I doing? What is this? Okay. I seem to know how to do this. sometimes, and then it came back, and then I was there again. Sometimes it was just literally not knowing where I was, knowing that I was in a familiar place that I'd been many times before, and not knowing where I was. So I would keep driving, knowing that it would present itself, and I would figure it out. My theory on that is that I have known since girlhood, since I got behind a wheel, that I channel in there. It makes sense. It was really as a youth, especially as a youth. It was the only place where I was inviolate. It was the only place that was mine. It was the only place that I had freedom. And boy, oh boy, did I use it. Are you aware that while I was still in high school, when I was driving my first car, a Pinto, that tells you how old I am, I asked my mom for permission if I could please, honest to God, if I could please have a friend of ours who did custom painting paint something on my driver's door. You know what it was? My Patmos. Do you know what that means? Well, if you have done some biblical research, you will know that St. John the Divine was exiled to Patmos for holding his consciousness the way he did. And he was rewarded for that sacrifice and profound work by being given the revelation. Yeah, as a youth. Okay, so I'm really convinced that this is a time and a place where I come and go, and I feel free to do so because it is it's a second home for me here on Earth. It's deeply metaphoric and deeply lyrical for me to drive. So, fatigue, Fugue steak, and memory issues. I alluded to it. My memory is not as it once was. I do want to say that when things were the darkest for me, the very, very darkest, when I was as close as I was going to come to killing myself in slow motion, I presented myself, well, I didn't. My behavior and my illness presented itself to diagnosticians who twice took CTs of my brain. Each time, my brain was lit up. And the neurologist tried to make me feel good about it. But I knew something very extraordinary was going on. I could sense. I couldn't really tell if it was alarm or wonder, but he said that there were areas of my brain that were lit up that were like pew, and little ones, and it didn't make any sense. It couldn't have been cancer. It couldn't have been cancer because it was too localized but diffuse. And then there was longitudinal studies, so you could see that there were different areas that were being affected. So I know neurologically that we have things going on even when we're not in a state of active awakening or activation or ascension or whatever you want to call it. So given that, I do appreciate and I do understand too, after working with Mr. Buran, the mechanism of the Hammer focus. And this is when we experience a trauma that is so unspeakable, literally unspeakable, that there is a shock that goes through the brain tissue, which is picked up on CT, and it's consistent what it looks like, and where it is correlates with the body habitus and expresses as illness 6 to 9 months later. And that is, you can take that to the bank every time. If there's been an illness, there is a Hummer focus. Period. End of list. So, the MDs and RNs watching, yeah, there's a lot more going on than you might think. Memory issues are a big deal. I understand that linear time is an agreement, okay? There's something that is regulated, and it's in everyone's home. It's a reality-wide agreement. If all of us said, tomorrow, no more clocks. Take off your wristwatches, take them down. What would we do? And how angry could you get with me if I showed up when it was appropriate for me to show up? You couldn't. If that was the agreement. Oh, when it's good for you, you're going to show up. Good. It would be better for me if you showed up before I eat dinner. I would prefer that. Don't come if it's after the time that I would normally eat dinner, and I usually eat after the sun goes down. But you see, that would create an organic feel. We'd have to naturally to work with each other. We'd have to have some frame of reference. We would use the sun. We would use the sunset. We would use things like that. Getting to know one another and knowing our own rhythms and our preferences and our patterns. No, we don't do that. No, we look at this thing on the wall, which is, by the way, just as a reminder, in base 12, not base 10. Isn't it funny? Time is base 12. Everything else is 10. This speaks to my intention. The next time I'm physical, there will be base 12 math, and then I can rock and roll. I'm not going to monkey around. I'm certainly not going to monkey around when it's base 10. It's nuts. Spaceman looking at an alien, looking at the tin can we shot up to the moon, saying, "We're so smart, look at us. See how pretty? Here's a picture of man, and here's all we know. And over here, look at, here's pi. We're so clever." No, we're not. Pi is irregular because it's base 10. You try and do pi with base 12. And you see the face of God. Face of God. Not the eye of God. The face of God. But, yeah, we have pi. You want some whipped cream on that? So, anyway, that's my riff on base 12. Time is a construct. And once you lose your taste for it, it's hard to stay, I don't know, interested. But I realized lately that what I've been doing is I've been daring myself by not keeping lists. I articulated with Melissa and said, yeah, I think what I've been doing is developing my intuition and trust, because I don't write anything down, and then I allow my day to present itself, and I do what seems to be appropriate at the time. The problem is that if you don't have a very good memory, then your life gets real weird real fast. And that's what I've done for longer than I care to report here. So I'm learning that it is an act of nurturing to, I love the way Melissa put it, that she writes lists because it enhances her experience. Wow. Okay. Now I can do a list because it'll enhance my experience. Not because someone told me I had to. Thank you, Melissa. But yeah, I have a very, a very, very nice date book that I bought. Because I thought it'd be packed full of dates by now. It's not. But anyway, I thought it would be. And there's lots of stuff I should keep track of. But I can't bring myself to pull it out. Mostly because I don't know what day it is. I have to have some frame of reference. Facebook or I don't know. And I just like, yeah, well, whatever. I'm back there, you know. I'm not doing the Monday through Friday thing, so Saturday being a happy day and Monday being a sad day and an angry day, yeah, that loses its context. When you lose track of those kind of things like Christmas too, and that nursing taught me that. Years and years and years of not of a holiday being another day, and having the realization that, wow, yeah, holidays are a group agreement. Christmas is, we've all agreed that we're going to behave a certain way. We're going to do these activities, and we get kind of weird if anyone chooses not to partake in that particular agreement. And the agreement, of course, is laden with love and holiness. So it's a great. My favorite agreement is Thanksgiving. But anyway, linear time becomes more and more an abstraction. Just, yeah, whatever. If you feel it's necessary. If you gotta, then we gotta. So, but that leads to this discussion of memory loss. I contend, as I always have, there's no such thing. Not at all. Once you're exposed to something, even in your brain, even once you think about it, but certainly if you study it, participate in it, experience it, then it's yours, and it will never be lost. No. So, there's no such thing as memory loss. I think what's going on is that we are reassigning how we retrieve things. And I know many who are very good examples of this, and I am one of those. When you get to the place, and I've always been this way, it's one of the reasons I have trouble getting a job, because I don't remember where I've been and what I've done. I have to put everything together through context. Okay, well, I lived in this house. I remember I was that old. I remember living in that house for 2 years. And yeah, I was working. Yeah, I worked there. Okay. Then I have to piece my history and my reality together like that. So I've always used experience, feel, relationships, objects as my markers, not the clock. And I do believe that's how our cautious, it's how our brains are beginning to encode and decode. Not linearly, but multidimensionally. What does that mean? We're moving from a 1, 2, 3, 4, a cause and effect, and highly dualistic consciousness, to one that is far more fluid and literally alive. And to do that, it requires a flexibility of not only thought, but of movement of consciousness, awareness, and significance. So I think that really we deserve to during this process, honor ourselves by giving ourselves a break. So what if I don't remember that I had an appointment with you? Are you going to take that personally? Oh, golly, please don't. It's got nothing to do with you. Can't you see that? I'm really sorry I disappointed you. Golly, I don't want to do that to you again, and I apologize. However, please hear me when I say this was not intentional, not at all. I get lost. And so I ask you to please help me instead of condemn me. Instead of getting frustrated, how about if the day before the event, you ding me, remind me. Or if you ask me if it's okay to come to dinner and you don't hear a response, assume I got busy and that I love you. Assume I love you. Assume you're important to me. And ask again. And say, hey, you hurt my feelings. What the heck? It's like that. It requires a different way to relate too, doesn't it? And not only to the earth, but to each other and to ourselves. And this is the way of it, of moving from a more regulated reality that can be measured by others. Do you see? Yes. It's removing the idea of sovereign from other and returning it to self. The clock doesn't regulate me, I do. Let's just be creative. And let's allow each other the opportunity to forget a few things and to cry no harm, no foul. Ha 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 ha. I've done that too. Gee, it's okay. I'm so glad to see you now. That kind of thing. It's a better approach. I do want to end with the request, please. Please, with this. Can we please move away from labeling everything quite so severely? I got a kid who thinks I have dementia. And I have to remind him, yeah, well, guess what, kid? You've been complaining about this for about 3 years. Yeah, here's how we close. Recently, the last 4 months, we parked in the parking lot, and I really wanted to tell Sam something kind of important. I needed to get him ready. I turned off the car and I said, just a minute, before we go up, I want to talk to you about something. It's been troubling me, and I don't know. I think you need to know, Sam. And so I told him that, like, twice that day and several times that week was during a really, really wild time. And stressful. Just really, golly Moses, that was a hard time. No wonder I was having trouble with my memory. From like October until, oh golly, that was a really hard time. I'd be mid-sentence. Oh, it was happening far before then. I wrote about it. I would be mid-sentence. Couldn't keep track. It's like my mind had slipped. What are we talking about? Which was really kind of fine. You can cover, you can pass. If you're not saying anything that's that important, or maybe it's between you and one other person, and they're sick, and just do some blah blah. No one will notice. Yeah, when you're the boss, it's different, right? But I would be a mid-conversation, mid-sentence, coming out of my mouth sometimes, and I could not remember what we were talking about. It was just gone. What do you do with that? Yeah, that was happening. Wow, that was happening for well over a year. Yeah. And frankly, there's no getting used to that one. I've never gotten used to it. It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's like the record skips and now what do I do? But I think what it taught me was, wow, there's so much I talk about and we talk about that really doesn't even matter. Wow. Because the stuff that was being interrupted was jabber jabber, yammer yammer. Not the pinnacle of understanding, but just sort of like, yeah, and he said this, and oh my God, maybe, which I don't engage in, but sometimes it was in the middle of a patient consultation. Sometimes it was in the middle of a heartfelt apology, and sometimes it was just talking about what I had for dinner. So this requires forbearance. It requires, above all, a sense of humor. And I would think, just forbearance. But we tend to put things in disease categories. I think because we're afraid we're dying. We're afraid, immediately it goes to, I'm going to be wearing like a Depends diaper and be wandering around and bumping into walls in 2 years. Holy crap. This is the end, this is the end, this is the end. Just as when we feel sensations of hunger, just as we have hold thoughts about going to sleep, these mimic death in a way, and they're scary. If I have hunger and I do not satisfy it, I remember dying from this. Ain't gonna happen again. It's very, very deep and you don't even know what's going on. But it sets up this fear, a survival fear, right away, right off the bat. It requires assigning a different meaning to the sensation. In the case of hunger, I got really I like it. I really do. I enjoy feeling full. I do. It's a nice thing, but hunger is where it's at. It makes me feel really, really, really enlivened and alive and happy and on fire. Hunger makes me feel like I'm on fire. I really like it. Certain sensations that we've just associated with death. And in this case, memory loss we associate with old age and senility. And being that we have very little understanding of death, that, I don't know, approaches profundity in this culture currently, in this consciousness currently, these death fears are triggered very easily. And one of them, I think, is when we lose our way with our memory. It's a long and beautiful meditation on these topics. I invite, once again, any neurologists, MDs, nurses, any other kind of healer to engage in a conversation with me about this. I'm fascinated to see what you think, and to find out if you have others in your practice who have presented themselves to you with similar issues, and how you have treated them, and if you've been successful or unsuccessful. I would urge people to consider not taking pharmaceuticals for memory issues, unless they're, institutionalized, and it seems like a really good thing. It seems like it really would work for Mama or Grandpa. Fine, good. But if you're walking around and you're maybe holding a job, you got a family, you got a place to live, consider this, if you will. There might be another alternative out there for perhaps not treatment, but at least for assignment of meaning, to decrease the fear and increase the sense of normalcy, because this really needs to be normalized. A lot of this just needs to be normalized. The minute you start hearing that everybody else is having the same thing, it's like, oh, good, I'm not crazy and I'm not dying. All right, now. I started that in really, really early. Does anybody else feel like their chest is on fire? Anybody else having these really weird fugue states? And sure enough, yeah, that was mine. Wow, I had a very similar thing happen. Soon enough, we're all talking and we're all realizing, oh, there's something much bigger going on here. And it ain't got nothing to do with disease. Remember what I said at the very beginning? This is health. This is normal. This is the future. I'm certain there's a way that we're going to be able to work through this. We're very clever people. And if enough of us are losing our thought groups mid-sentence, and it becomes something that it's not just a few having, and I can tell you that's the case, more and more and more people, then how about if we give each other a pass? And how about we support each other rather than label each other and try and regulate something that is absolutely normal but mysterious and new and requiring a new science of life. I know I'm taking that title, Rupert, and I don't know what to do about that. It's just, this is a new science. And it's not of anything except life. The study of coherence, of validity of experience, personality of validity, personality integration, the theory of validity. This is what has been coming through again and again, that phrase. And I am heating up like the sun. It's nice to say those words. I didn't get to say those. If we have a sense of validity of our, if we have deemed our experience valid, no matter what it is, it's valid. If we understand that our experience is generated from us, if we understand that the other is having their own very valid experience based entirely in their kosh, their awareness, their needs, and their free will. But we are all entangled, therefore, and it's cooperative and benevolent. Therefore, there is overlay, there is interplay, and there is reflectivity, because we are one entity in a way, experiencing itself in a multitudinous way. And in this way, creativity is the order of the day. Self-regulation is the order of the day. And self-definition rules. Oh, such power. And I hit 3303. Oh, I just love them numbers. I love you and your journey. You are beautiful as you walk your journey. You are not doing this wrong. You're not doing your life wrong. Your body isn't doing its body stuff wrong. You're not encoding and decoding it wrong. The significance and importance you place on it is correct and true. It does not require someone who's gone to school to tell you that. If you need someone to tell you that you're doing a good job, you give Mama a call. I'll take one look at you and just, I'll probably cry real tears of joy and happiness and pride and excitement and, I want to tell you of things I know, and you're going to want to tell me of things you know, and it'll be awesome. I'll refrain from calling you a name like senile or demented or grandiose. That is from another time. So now we get to decide what this means. Let the good times roll.